Welcome to the next episode of Membership Masterminds, where we're going to be talking about AI in where? There's my calendar. Membership and AI. That's the topic for today. Just a reminder, love to see your cameras if you can. And I'm gonna pull the screen down in just a minute. Love to see your cameras, so we know who we're talking to. Second is please feel free to jump in and comment. Just unmute yourself, or I don't know if you're muted or not, but most of us sit here muted. Unmute yourself and jump in when you have something to say. This is not a webinar. This is not a presentation. This is a group discussion. So cameras on if you're okay with that, unless you want to just sit and lurk in the background, which is also fine. No judgment here.
No, thank you.
What's that, Rachel? Oh, no, no. Rachel, I think you were talking to somebody else. Hey there, Rachel. How are you? All right. Today's topic, membership masterminds. We've got 860 members in the community right now. That's awesome. Still, LinkedIn just isn't a great community tool when it comes to a chat, but we've got a lot of people in that community. If you want to tap into that group to see who your peers are, but also those are the people we tend to invite to these gatherings. Today's topic here we have the questions. What I would love to do before I post these into the chat, I would love it if you would put your organization and your title. And if there's something that you would like help with as it's related to AI, put that into the chat. And that is where I would love to start. Let's start with your issues, your topics. While you're doing that, what kind of meeting would this be with me if I didn't share one of my dad jokes? Want to hear a dad joke? I like this one. Tell me if I said this one last time. It was right at the top of the deck here. It's inappropriate to make a dad joke if you're not a dad. It's a faux pas. Thank you, Kelly. Was that a sigh or a laugh, Kelly?
I was
Because I got more. I got more. I will threaten you. What's the world's fattest cake? Scone. I don't get that. I should read these in advance. All right, we'll come back to those a little bit later.
dry
Um,
as cake, maybe, but there's
what is world fast? Oh, fastest, not fattest. Fastest cake, scone.
oh,
I
scone.
still don't get it. Scone.
I don't get it either.
Okay. So we've got let's see what topics, if anything, you're interested in. Um,
We don't have too many in the chat. Does anyone want to come off mute and start the discussion?
I'm
if
sorry,
not, I
I
can.
was late. What was the question?
Hey, Cassandra, the question on the table right now is, and forgive me, there may be some new faces here. Cassandra, I'll be right back with you. I didn't introduce myself. I'm Dave Will, co-founder and CEO of PropFuel. Got some of my team here. We facilitate this membership masterminds discussion each month. This is not a conversation about PropFuel. However, oftentimes a lot of our clients are in here, so it does come up every now and then. And I'm not going to shut you up. But I'm just saying this is not necessarily a webinar about PropFuel. So today's topic, Cassandra, is about AI in membership, how we're using AI, maybe different tools, some resources. Let me start with a really simple. Let me start with a really simple question. And if you could, with just a show of hands, maybe a reaction, or just put your hand up on the screen. Um, Tell me if you use AI every day one way or another in your job.
Yep.
Maybe not even in your job. I'm constantly using it just to search things. I search things in ChatGPT more than I do on Google now. I can't get a feel. Hold them up, keep them up, because I'm not seeing. And if you're off camera, yep, thank you, Liz. Just use the reaction, because it looks like about half. That's interesting. I would have expected more.
So Dave,
Yes. Hey, Tom.
I've got something to discuss. I'm always interested because we're on this journey. We've got BettyBot, we got PropFuel, we've got Higher Logic Communities, and we got
Tom,
our Novi
who are you?
database.
Where are you from? What's your
Oh, Tom
association?
Morrison, CEO of the Metal Trading Institute, Manufacturing
And my
Association.
partner in the Association Strong podcast.
I get to talk to this guy every other week, and it's so incredible. I don't know, good or bad, but it's incredible.
It is incredible.
As I say, it's unbelievable. So no, but I mean, when you got all this data coming from members, you got it coming from communities, discussion posts, and you got stuff going on and prop fuel with industry surveys and stuff. One question check-ins. How are people using AI? My big vision is using AI to mesh all that together to bring good content to people through the discussions. You know, one of the simple examples is you're in a discussion post at Higher Logic and our AI thing is called WallyBot. So I want members to be able to go say, let's see what WallyBot has to say. And it goes out and WallyBot the next day has a post in there that talks about what they were talking about, given all the conversations and stuff that WallyBot knows and has learned from us through putting it in there. So I'm interested to know how people are they on that journey? What are the journeys that they're on with AI?
So, Tom, before anybody answers that, can you explain a little bit more about WallyBot? It's put on by a company called Betty. They're, friends of the family, for lack of a better word. But you buy this knowledge bot. Explain what it is.
So WallyBot is nothing more than a ChatGPT style functionality. It's its own program. It's a closed-end model, whereas ChatGPT is an open-ended model. This is a closed-end model where the only data and content in the system is what you and your association put into the system, and it's closed to the outside world, which is pretty powerful. So we've bought into that, and it's gotten tremendous activity for the first year, and so we're exciting to see that move. But I want to see it go to another level to where it's reading our membership database. It's reading our conversations and Higher Logic, and it's bringing all that together to give back great answers to members who are asking questions about whatever topic they want.
Thank you, Tom. Does anybody else, to answer Tom's question, I think this is a great place to start. Is anybody else using AI in their organizations? Let's not focus right now on how you're using it individually. Is anybody using it in their organization in a structured way like that?
I can jump in here. Tom, it sounds like you have a similar setup that we do at MRAA, and I'm Freya Olson, Senior Director of Engagement for the Marine Retailers Association of the Americas. Our bot is called Amy. It's Artificial Intelligence for Marine Industry Education, so AIMIE. And, we have a couple automated feeds set up for what's going into Amy routinely. And we have a couple areas of our website where we have significant data reports from the marine industry that we assess dealers on each month that we feed into her. And one thing that's sort of on my mind as we discuss all this, and Tom, you may have an answer to this, is how do we do a better job, or how do we find some parameters for loading sort of anecdotal feedback into our bot versus just data-driven stuff. So we get a lot of feedback from dealers in our industry. As you can imagine, economic headwinds have them kind of on a chokehold right now. And so there's a lot of feedback that comes in. And so I'm in sort of this unique situation to decide what of that information goes in and how much of that is actually helpful. We too have a closed format. So it just, I don't know if I'm contributing much here in the sense that, I have any answers for you, Tom, but I'm sort of in the same situation where we're at sort of like a plateau and we want to get to this next level. And how do we use that to drive information that's going to help people understand the greater value of AI and the bot on our site, specifically as it relates to the feedback that comes from the industry, from our board, from members, and so on.
One of the things that we're doing is we're about to go to our spring meeting, and we come back. So your members are telling you what they want to hear by the questions they're asking in the bot, right? And so but our bot answers about 75% of all the questions really good, and 25% it has no answer or a little bit of an answer. So We're starting
Yeah.
when we come back to go out and download all that 25% and look at it. And we're going to submit those to our suppliers and say, hey, do any of you have content that can answer these questions effectively? So we're going to go find the answers to that 25, because that's where they're telling you things that they want to know, and you're not giving them the right answers. So I think that's where we're going to start. Instead of guessing, we're going to go look what's being asked that they're not getting good solid answers to, and then we're going to start with there.
A great suggestion. Thank you.
So when it comes to things like the bot, Tom, I don't know if you're doing this. Freya, I think MRAA is doing this. There's a couple of other Betty customers that, one of the challenges is to get people into this knowledge base bot to participate, right? How do you get them to engage and interact with it? And there's the Missouri State Teachers Association. Anybody hear from MSTA? Well, the MSTA did something really cool. They asked a question through PropFuel. They asked a question saying something about creating what are those things? A lesson plan. They asked a question about teachers needing help with a lesson plan. And then if they expressed some level of interest in creating a lesson plan, there was through this integration between PropFuel and Betty, it sent a prompt directly into their version of Betty and initiated a conversation for them. So rather than just saying, hey, go check it out and use this thing, it actually created something for them directly from that email. So it gets them an email and brings them to the service that then created a lesson plan for them that was really tailored to them through that personalized prompt. So they did the same thing with advocacy, writing personalized letters to their representatives.
Dave, we did something similar, but so our Betty Bot activity has been like a 45-degree angle since last May. I mean, it has gone up. Our unique users and unique questions have been really going well and growing each month. And I think it's attributable to every single week, like many of you, we send out a weekly 3-article email, latest industry stuff, things people need to know. And on the top of that, starting a year ago, we put the WallyBot question of the week. So we go out and identify a question that we know is really a hot topic. And first we test it, right? We type the question and make sure it gives back a good response. But if it does, we then make that the question of the week. And I'm never amazed when I go in and look at our results of how many people have asked that question. So that's one of the ways to really drive people to the site. Because if you ask the right question that's curious on their mind, they're gonna go check it out. And it's also, our WallyBot is also available on our mobile app with Higher Logic, because that way everything's in the palm of their hands, all that knowledge base. So that's another way, Dave, that we've done it, is just coming up with the question of the week that's really pertinent to our members.
All right, so we're on this first question in the chat. How is your organization currently using AI in membership strategy? So we're talking about the bigger things. Where Betty is, of course, one of the AI-driven tools, which is that second question there. Is anyone else using AI in one way or another to provide a better service for their members, more benefits to their members, or to make your staff more productive? Yeah, Cassandra. Can you unmute, Cassandra? Do you like Cassandra or Cassandra?
Cassandra.
Cassandra, okay.
Yeah, we use Copy AI,
Who are you with, Cassandra?
Osteopathic Physicians and Surgeons of California.
Thank you.
And we use Copy AI because we like the flexibility of it. And you can put in a website page and have it scan it. It will scan the page for information, specific information. And we point it at different pages in our site and say, okay, write me a 3-letter campaign based on this web page to non-members to get them to understand the benefits of joining this organization.
Mm-hmm.
And how this page will address their needs.
Now,
And it does.
Copy.ai, I would imagine you could do that with
You probably,
ChatGPT. What makes is Copy AI, like what's unique about Copy AI?
what I like most is also you can give it, if the members or non-members have LinkedIn profiles, it will scan those profiles and see what their interests are. See what they're talking about and posting about, and it'll craft letters based on those things.
That's really interesting. I didn't know AI tools could do that very easily because LinkedIn is pretty strict with their API.
They
I
are pretty
guess
strict, but
I guess what they're doing is they're scraping from the public view of the person's LinkedIn profile. Yeah, okay.
correct.
Very cool. We use ChatGPT the most for our membership programs. When members join, they can select from, I think it's like 8 different areas that they're most interested in. And so I wrote a basic campaign for someone interested in networking, and then we're using ChatGPT to or alter that to be more networking or more education focused, more advocacy focused, or whatever, to customize their onboarding drip emails. We're also using it to create an enhanced education experience. So like ASAA did with its conference last year, we're creating a compendium for our conference, but we're also adding job aids. We're using vengage.com to create job aids. I've created 10 different branded templates that our education staff can just go in and drop the information into. We're using ChatGPT to get the information from points in the recordings to create the job aids, and then we run it by the speaker, make sure there's no hallucinations or it didn't capture a point that wasn't really relevant, to make sure it captured everything. So we're using it quite a bit. I use it every day. It saves hours and hours of time. We're only a 9-person staff at the American Alliance of Orthopedic Executives, so we use AI a lot.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Anyone else?
Dave, I'll throw one more out there that we're about to go
Sure.
as phase 3 of our Wallybot Wallybot content push. Is we all have suppliers in our industry that want to be near our members, and they want to have expertise. They want to have engagement with your regular members. And so what we're doing is we're going to our suppliers and saying, look, you hold the golden nuggets of knowledge in a lot of areas in the industry. So we're offering them a free opportunity to submit, because the way BettyBot works is you give them links or PDF files, white papers, whatever, and then they upload it into your particular BettyBot through them, and then that knowledge is learning in there. And so we're offering our suppliers an opportunity to give us links and PDF files that we're going to upload into our Wallybots. Because here's what happens when one of their pieces of content is used in the answer. At the bottom, it says learn more, and it puts a link into where they got that answer from, which goes to the supplier's webpage or PDF file. Great exposure, great credibility building, and great opportunity and value to the members out there. And I always go back to everything that our great engagement expert, Amanda Lee Kaiser, says, everything needs to point to engagement. So that was one of the ways we could pull the suppliers into this Wallybot element and get them involved in our AI by giving us the content to put into there. So that's another way to get your suppliers really engaged in the future of your association.
If you haven't seen it, Elevating Engagement, this is Amanda's book. It's now a couple years old, right, Amanda? 2 years old. Yeah. It's not outdated though. It's awesome. It's a really, really good book about the philosophy of engaging your members on a very, very personal level. The second question here, I think, is more specific to tools and platforms. Tom mentioned Betty. We had a couple people using Betty. Cassandra mentioned what was the one you mentioned, Cassandra?
Copy AI.
Copy AI.
Thank you. Kathy has built some things internally. I can tell you, and so start thinking of any tools that you may be using as an organization. Now, we're not yet at the individual level. I do want to get to the individual level, but hold those off for now. I'll start with this one. At a company level, I like to think about helping your teams do more with the same number of people. Something I hear all the time. Thanks, Amanda. There's the book in Amazon. Something I hear all the time is we just don't have enough time, or I mean, you people are doing the work of 5 people, it seems like, most of the time. And so the question is, how can we utilize AI not to replace people, but how can we utilize AI to get more of the things done and to let the humans do more of the human stuff? And so what we're doing is we're making it way easier for people create campaigns of Prop Fuel, for example. Like we have what I call AI blueprints. They're really just blueprints, but I want to point out that they're AI-driven blueprints that build the campaigns, much like Kathy does with her team, the onboarding campaigns. With the click of a button, you're creating a 12, 13 check-in campaign, whereas a year and a half, 2 years ago, you'd spend 15, 20 hours building a campaign like that. And so now you're going from 15 or 20 hours to about 30 minutes to review it. And so the way I've been thinking about AI is how can we use AI to create agents, or as a lot of people refer to it, agentic AI. That's just a little too scientific for me. I like to think of it as agents, but how can we create agents to become our new staff members so you guys and the people under you become managers more than doers? And let me just show you an example of some of the things we're doing internally. So this is not the public facing view of our platform. This is what our team uses. This is what we see on the back end when we want to search for a particular client or go to some sample campaigns or whatever. And in here we have our agents, and we've built 3 agents so far. I suspect by the end of the year we're going to have 5, 6, 7 agents in here, and we want to build these agents for our clients to use too. But the CHIP, and of course, we come up with clever names for these things. CHIP is the Client Health Intelligence Platform, and we use CHIP to identify. And I hope this isn't going on and on too long, but I think this is the future of how we're going to use AI. When I say the future, I mean right now. This is a kind of, I think, a rather advanced way of utilizing AI to become more efficient in an organization. So our client health intelligence platform helps us identify which of our clients are struggling and which of our clients are doing really well. That allows our client success team to know who to reach out to personally, who deserves that, who needs that human attention, and who can we just send an email to. Spot is the sales prospecting optimization tool. So when we sponsor a conference, we'll upload the list. We'll identify from that list who's a client, who's a prospect, who was a prospect and didn't want to use Prop Fuel, who's in the contracting stage with us. So this is a tool we're using to identify where associations are in our sales process or not at all. And then William, otherwise known as Bill, is our invoicing system, and it's otherwise known as Workforce Integrated Ledger and Invoice Automation Manager. We of course asked ChatGPT come up with a clever name for Bill, but basically William helps us do our contracting, invoicing, and AR better. So those are examples of how not only are we building AI into the platform so you're using it, but we're also using AI so that we don't have to hire more people to make Prop Fuel bigger. Anyone else using AI tools or building tools yourself? I know it's a similar question to the very first one, which is how we're using AI. Any questions about what I just showed? Was that clear or confusing? What are the costs associated with these AI and bot programs? I think, Kelly, if you're referring to Betty, oftentimes I think it's many thousands of dollars, if not tens of thousands of dollars per year. But you got to reach out to them. And I certainly don't want to put anyone here on the spot to talk about what they're paying for Betty, but it's in the many thousands of dollars plus. It's not $50 a month, in other words. Oh, it looks like some people have already answered that too. How to use AI for billing. So that's a good question. How do we use it for billing? We use AI to identify who is 30 days past due. And think, so I'm using it from a business perspective. Think about how you could use this from a membership perspective. So we use AI to identify who's 30 days past due, Has there been any communication with them? So now it's tracking our emails and our exchange with them. What communication has happened between us and them? We're identifying all the data around their contract and sending that to the client success rep responsible for that particular client so that they can now have a personal connection with that organization and they know everything about them already. Now we have an automated process. So if you're a client of ours, you get an automated email from me for the first, 30, 60 days. And if at that point you haven't paid, then you go into the AI system and the client success manager reaches out to you, figure out why not, what's going on. Oftentimes because we have the wrong billing contact or somebody's left an organization or it's getting stuck in spam or something like that. I'm going to go back to a question that Lauren had. How are people using AI presently to help with membership functions, marketing, operations, reporting, surveys?
Dave, I'll speak a little bit to that if nobody
Thanks,
else
Tom.
is. We use AI for everything. Every letter we write, everything we do in marketing and communications filters through ChatGPT. And especially if you've got now we only have 350 corporate members, but if you're somebody that's got tens of thousands, ChatGPT is amazing. You download the information into a spreadsheet with the data points and then upload it into ChatGPT and say, analyze this spreadsheet and tell me data points and trends that you think we ought to be paying attention to. And within seconds, it's going to spit back all this data for you to be looking at. And so it's one of the best data and analytics you can work with because it's looking from a body of knowledge that it's got all these other things that it's learned from. That's a key area that you can do. But like I said, everything that we work with, we always ask, what can ChatGPT tell us or write for us before we do anything? And it comes up with some amazing. Now, you want to even reread that because sometimes people can tell that you've written the letter with ChatGPT because it uses the most incredible wordsmithing. So you want to bring it down a notch if you can. I mean, look, my staff says if Tom writes the letter, we know it's got to be dumbed down somewhat, you know. But I encourage everybody to use it for just a starting point because sometimes you go to think about what do we want this letter to say to somebody, and you don't really know where to start. But if you just put in there, we want this letter to go to this type of person to drive this kind of value, to get this kind of result. Write me a letter that does that. And I've even gone in and had ChatGPT read our website and say, write me a letter of why you should join Metal Treating Institute, and it came back with a phenomenal letter. So I encourage people to use it for just about anything before you start.
Now, Tom, if you take that to the next degree and you have somebody's personal information, you're trying to connect with that one person, you can send a LinkedIn profile, you can add in any comments about the person that you know, and then you say, write me a letter for why Kelly
Right.
should join the Metal Treating Institute. So Sam Altman, of course, the founder of OpenAI or the CEO of OpenAI, I heard him in a podcast once say, like, a lot of people use it for, summarizing things. And while it does a good job at that, he said what he likes to do is use AI to expand on ideas. Now, once a week, I try to do it once a week. I carve out about 2 hours at a coffee shop or somewhere. Maybe I've been known to sit in my car for 2 hours at the beach and think. That's what I call it, my thinking session. I usually go with a particular topic. Yeah, Amanda, this is right up your alley. I could totally see you doing this. But I usually go with a particular topic. Like, what's prop fuel going to look like in 10 years from now? Like something big or heavy, or how can I boost morale at prop fuel? How can I create more customer loyalty? How can I, questions like that, things that I want to think through and ponder for a little while. So what I've started doing is going back and forth with ChatGPT, starting a conversation, almost like it's my coach. And it's amazing, like how it does such a good job asking you just the right questions based on the information that you're feeding it. If you tell it, your destination and where you're trying to get to go. You know what I mean? So that's another use of ChatGPT for me, at least. And I saw somebody here likes Claude. There's a lot of great tools and specialty tools and so on. All right, who's got something to say?
Well, Dave, I feel Kelly's pain over here where she says, I like to cover every little aspect of everything sometimes so I can get rather wordy. I'm huge at that. And what ChatGPT is great. Our latest direct mail marketing piece, we have 6 areas we're focusing in on. They have these nice big paragraphs inside explaining, and my staff goes, Tom, no one's going to read that. Get bullet point happy. And so I put each of them in the ChatGPT and said, give me 3 bullet points for each paragraph. And it hit it right on the nose. Short, concise, to the point, hits right to the value. So that's another little small thing that saves us all tons of time.
I sometimes feel like I'm cheating because
No.
I'll write something, I'll put it to ChatGPT and do the same thing, condense it, smaller, fewer bullet points and everything. And it's weird when it says like your message is it's serious, but factual, and like it tells you opinions like it's a real person giving feedback. It's kind of scary, but anyway, so then I give the final product to my boss and I don't mention ChatGPT, and he's like, great job. I'm like, do I tell him I'm cheating? I don't know. I
Kelly,
don't know what the ethics are in terms of admitting a little ChatGPT help.
I think one of the things we try and keep in mind is people say it knows too much about us, but a speaker said one time at one of our meetings, artificial intelligence is like having something in your hand that knows everything about everything. So of course it's got people that's had the same thing about you as speaking from that lens, not necessarily, but it's kind of like being in church and you think the pastor's speaking directly to you out of a church of 1,000. Well, ChatGPT is kind of the same way, I think. You got everything in the palm of your hand that knows everything. So it's going to seem like that it's talking directly to you.
I don't see it as cheating at all, Kelly. I really don't. It's another tool. There's, prior to this, you could search things on the internet. Is that cheating, or should you go to an encyclopedia in a library and look for things? So like,
Yeah, I think if I'm smart enough to use ChatGPT, that's all the power to me, right?
one of my team members asked me recently. We're a small company. We're like 15 people now at PropFuel, and one of my team members said, "So, what is the path for growth here at PropFuel?" And that's a difficult question because it's not like we're going to be 100 people in a year or two where she's going to be leading a team. I mean, ultimately, that's oftentimes where you want to go as an individual contributor to a manager. And my response to her was that if you can, a lot of your job, if you don't do anything, a lot of your job, and this is a little bit harsh, but a lot of your job is going to be replaceable by AI. Now, as we grow, if you figure out how to utilize AI to do 5 times the work that you're getting done now you're critical to us because you've become a manager of a bunch of agents. And so if you can dedicate your time to figuring out how to harness AI and use that in your job, now you're incredibly valuable, not only to us, but all the other organizations looking for somebody that knows how to do that too. So that was my response to her. It's like your opportunity for growth is to create a team under you of agents doing a lot more work than you're getting done today. So it's still management. You're just managing tools, not people. For better or for worse. I'm sure some of you are thinking, oh, that's terrible. It's not as bad as saying, oh, yeah, no, you're going to be doing the same thing you're doing now in 3 years.
No, it's awesome. We use Copy AI we took our bylaws. We recently rewrote our bylaws, submitted it to our National Association for approval. Once we got the approval, we dropped our bylaws into Copy AI and said, okay, these are our bylaws. Now help us construct the policies and procedures to make sure these are enforced. And it did. I'm like, great.
Yeah.
Took a lot off my plate. I don't have to sit there and go, okay, what day does this have to be done? What day does this have to be done?
So what'd you do with the rest of your day?
It's a
did all
great
the
question, Tom. From honestly, not a literal question, but I mean figuratively, that's a really good question. Like, what'd you do with the rest of your day? This is making stuff happen a lot faster for us. I had a financial question with investors. I put our I don't know how to read our operating agreement. It's 50 pages of legalese, the prop fuel operating agreement between me and my partner and our investors. 50 pages of legal jargon. No idea what it means. So I put it in ChatGPT and I said, "Hey, can you explain to me like how X, Y, and Z happens?" And it was brilliant. It said, "Yep, in this section it says this, and this is what it means to the average person like you, dummy." And it was perfect. I took the insult, moved on. Lauren says, I have the same question, dollars and staff time costs. This is going back to the AI bot conversation. How does, I'm going to change that question a little. We're going to get away from the dollars too, because that was kind of answered in here. Dollars are going to vary dramatically across the board. Staff time. How do you guys deal with stuff like this? Like you are taking an hour today. That's your time. It's a lot of time. Hopefully you come out of this meeting with some validation or some ideas, some things you want to chase down. But how do you figure out when and how much time to dedicate to learning something that over time will save you and your staff days and days of work like Cassandra saved and like I've been saving and Tom's been saving? How do you dedicate the time, the staff time costs? Everybody's busy.
Yeah, but we're busy, Dave, because we're so busy doing things that AI could do for us, with us.
But you're still
And
busy. Like what are you going to stop sending emails because you need to stop research AI? How do you do that? How do you stop doing stuff for a minute to implement AI?
well, I don't feel people learn how to do a lot of AI. People get into AI when they see someone else does something. When they hear how someone else uses it, they go, "I didn't know you could use it like that." And so, getting your team now, we began to do this, getting your team together for small increments so we can talk about how did you use AI this week, and they start learning from each other instead of trying to read books or watch videos on how to use it that's outside their realm of expertise. The way we look at the reason why we invested into BettyBot to create our WallyBot is we started thinking through, wow, we can grow our capacity to serve our members from a content standpoint and information standpoint 100-fold and not take up staff time doing it. Because the more stuff that's learned inside the AI system, the less time someone has to spend with the staff to just ask a basic question. So a little bit of it is an investment in time to know that over time, you're going to get more of your time back.
The word investment is good because it's very much like a financial investment, right? We all have a limited amount of money, and where do you spend it so that your retirement is secured as best we can, so that you can pay for college for the kids, so you can buy a
Right.
car, so you still pay for groceries and still pay the mortgage, which is due in a week. Like, so you have those immediate financial needs, and then you have the longer term financial needs. And I think that's really, however you do that, that's how we got to be doing this. Because if we don't, if that employee I talked to does not embrace her expertise or learn how to use AI to help her in her job, she's not going to have a job in a couple of years.
That's what.
Let me go. Go ahead.
Diana, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say we have some account managers on the team, and they have roughly 600 accounts apiece, and that's a lot of accounts. And so I was like, if you can make your emails shorter, more efficient, if you can increase the speed of which you're servicing your accounts, you're going to be able to service more accounts. And so, we tend to kind of like you were saying, Tom, long emails because you don't want to exclude anything, right? So I was like, okay, well, take that and cut it in half because they're not going to read that. We like to write that. They're not going to read that. And so I kept saying, I was like, we're not measured on the quality of the email we send. And the length of it. We're measured on, are you answering their question and are they renewing? Right? If they're not renewing, then we're not servicing them. So we need to be able to service more members faster and more efficiently. And so we've been playing around with just not spending 30 minutes writing an email about all the benefits that we have, right? Like answering their one question and maybe giving them something else and using ChatGPT to help with that. So
Diana, similarly, we've got 300 clients and 4 client success managers working with you guys. So I don't know math, I'm gonna say somewhere around 80, right? 80, 90, 90. I don't know, something like that. Maybe it's less, but they're working with a lot of clients. And so we have to figure out who needs the attention and who doesn't. And that's where I shared that a few minutes ago. Which one was it? This one, the Client Health Intelligence Platform. That's where Chip helps out in terms of helping our CS team know who to work with, who needs the human attention. I actually think I have a strong, strong opinion, and I'm sure you've heard me say this before if you ever into any of my webinars that I do, but AI and automation, different things but related. AI and automation are designed to help parse what machines can do well and what people do well. That's the way I see the use of AI and automation is like, let's put everything in there so that it can tell us what needs to be done by the person. It's a beautiful thing, actually. It's allowing us to be more human where and when it counts. Ginger, I was just reading your comment. Recently used ChatGPT to edit and review session descriptions. What would have taken me hours was done in less than 10 minutes. Yeah, this is happening all the time.
can I ask if anyone has used an AI platform and trained it on your editorial style and then had it edited?
We tell it to
Yes.
use AP style. When we're editing, we'll say, here's the audience, please edit for conciseness and AP style. So
you don't have like your own internal style too. Maybe that's the answer.
You can, Diana, you
Use a
can
style
create
guide that already exists.
Yeah.
you can create a GPT in ChatGPT that will like draft things for you based off of the template or the prompt that you give it. So like we've done one for Dave, where if we would put in essentially like blog posts that Dave had written previously, and then basically would say like this is a topic or a webinar or whatever it may be that we want to create another blog post on based off of his writing style. Can you draft up the post on this topic? And it actually does a really good job with that. And that's just again through ChatGPT, building a custom GPT. So it sounds kind of similar.
Yeah, definitely.
There's a tool I used, and I'm gonna share it here. This is just a sheet, Google Sheet. I went to a seminar. This guy Ethan King present this, not specific to associations. In fact, if anything, it's specific to businesses. But I think you're gonna get a lot out of this. I'll share my screen real quick. In here, it taught us how to, and I gotta find the right, if it's not in here, it gave us the perfect prompt for teaching ChatGPT your writing style. And now it's almost annoying because ChatGPT now talks to me super casually, kind of like I write my blog
Dude.
post. Every time I ask a question, like, yeah, dude, that's a great idea. Let's explore that a little bit. But in here, so prep your ChatGPT, get 40 content topics. I'm gonna search for this a little bit over the next few minutes, but in here there's some really, really good prompts to play with if you want to look through it. It just goes on and on and on. Training GPT, maybe that's it. No, that wasn't it. Oh, here's a really cool exercise though. Designing your future self. Take a look at this. Like, it's incredible some of the conversations you can have. I did this one where I prompted ChatGPT. I learned this at a seminar, and the prompt was, this turned into a very long conversation between me and ChatGPT. Based on what you know about me and my business, what do you think I'm doing wrong and not aware of? And it nailed it. Like absolutely nailed it. It was so cool. But of course, that's because I have it remembering me and our conversations. Is anybody experimenting with AI to produce video? I've done a little bit and it's getting really good at this. Yeah, I'd love to know too. I haven't found any good video tools.
I haven't done it yet, but we use Vidyard, which is a video recording like email platform, and they offer an AI avatar in it. Now you have to pay extra for it. You can trial it for free for like 3 videos, but it's
So yeah,
gotten it's
that's
interesting.
the Avatar thing. I forgot there was a big one that came out 6 months ago or so. I forgot the name of it. I dabbled in it. Um, but you read a paragraph to it, and then all of a sudden it'll do you talking anywhere. So you can do training and learning and so on. I'd be more curious about like show me a video of a unicorn in an office wearing a polka dot tie, and the unicorn is servicing members as they join the association. Like, show me a 30-second clip of that. I don't know how to do that, but I think there's ways. All right, this is a good time to convert to the question that I've been putting off, and I think we've dabbled in this a little bit. How are you personally using AI? And I don't care if it's for planning a vacation or using it to do your job better, but how are you, not your organization, but how are you using it in your job? And I know some of you already commented on this.
I don't know. I use it to help me with the I supervise 3 people, and I make sure when I'm replying to my emails or their emails or trying to get across a point, I put it into Copy AI, keep me out of HR. So I put the email I get from them, say, okay, how do I reply to this without being saying that's an HR violation? That's probably a little much more than you wanted to know, but I just
No, it's fine. I don't want to hear about the HR violations, but I like the use of this. I could use that actually. Finding rhyming words to help me create poems. Gosh, there's this great tool, Sora, I think it's called, Sora, I think. Brittany, maybe you remember. It creates
Yeah.
songs. So like I was in the kitchen doing dishes, and um, I was like, shouldn't we just go watch TV right now with my wife? And I wrote a song about the decision of whether to continue doing dishes or go watch TV. And it's just so stupid and awesome at the same time.
Oh, it's Suno.
Suno, Suno, thank you.
It's funny if you guys haven't used it yet, if you're just getting into AI. I think that's actually a question too. Like, is there anyone on the call that is here because they haven't used AI yet and maybe they're like a little nervous to, or they're trying to get some reassurance that it's okay to? Like, who's not using it for whatever reason?
Yeah, excellent question. Saw somebody post earlier that they're not using it on a regular basis.
Yeah. Yeah. It's actually, I think.
Oh, Katie, I thought you had something to say. You had me so excited there for a minute. All right, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna be vulnerable for a second. Surprise. And I'm gonna share with you my ChatGPT, and I'm gonna show you, whoops, hold on a second. I want to show you the searches I've done recently, because a lot of this is just good old fashioned like replacing Google, like board vote on bonuses. Like a certain degree, this I'm not going to click on that one because I don't know what's in there, and it makes me a little nervous to share anything about bonuses publicly. But this is part of where I needed to ask. I think this is the one where I needed to ask our operating agreement rules. You know, U.S. India import tariffs. I needed to find out. My son has a business related to his Kona brand shirts. I could have his Hawaiian flannels, and he's ordering shirts from India. And I was curious, like, what is the current tariff importing stuff from India? Now, I could have Googled that, but I chose to ask ChatGPT, and it gave me a much clearer answer. Same with EV battery. I have a Tesla. My Tesla seemed to be draining quickly, and I was trying to figure out. Oh, I take it back. Somebody else was asking about their car and why it was draining. It was a very specific all electric Toyota, and it was draining overnight, and they couldn't figure out why. This is the what am I doing wrong one that I asked, which is God dang it, ChatGPT. Oof, Dave, you're swinging open a door
Love
to
that response.
unsolicited coaching here. Yeah,
Yeah,
blood
I think
issue. I mean, this goes on and on. You can look at the topics I'm putting in here on the left, all the way from simple ones like half birthday calculations. What's Brittany's half birthday?
January 25th. You could ask me too. Call me ChatGPT.
So I
Um,
needed
I,
a moniker. I gotta show this one. Brittany. I needed a
okay.
moniker for me for a game I was playing. I said, "Hey, what's a good nickname for me?" Here's some of the nicknames it gave me. The
Dogfather of
the
engagement.
Doodle Whisperer. Um, oh my goodness, just way too many. All
The
right.
growth
Anyways,
clancer.
so these are
Papa
some of the
Prop.
Papa
ways.
prop. Papa prop.
Golden
The
doodle.
golden doodle of growth. That's pretty accurate.
I think that's a good point though, Dave, because I've used ChatGPT to help explain things that essentially to help me learn things. So if there's a topic or something that I'm not very familiar with, it's like I'll take that topic or that question and just say like, explain this simply, or like simplify this process or these game rules or whatever it may be, because it's sometimes what you find on the internet is still a little bit over my head. So that's been a helpful way for me.
Diana, the answer is I have been known to ask ChatGPT for a dad joke, but I have not been thrilled with them. I have this deck of cards, which is a joke deck of cards. There's 104 of them, double-sided. So that's where most of my dad jokes come from. Amanda, I have a question for you about writing and using AI. I know I've been known to talk to ChatGPT when Brittany says, "Hey Dave," or Robson says, "Hey Dave, we need a blog post for the next newsletter going out. Can you write it? This is the topic." What I'll do is, as I'm driving back from the grocery store, no joke, I did this one day driving back to the grocery store. I started talking to ChatGPT, telling it like this, just like word vomit all about that topic. Everything I could think of that was relevant. Zero organization to it. And I said, "Can you just write me a 1,000-word blog post on that topic?" And it spit something out that I think was about 80%. And then I took that and I fine-tuned it. I'm curious, Amanda. So is all my content, ChatGPT just helped me make it pretty. So Amanda, I'm curious, when you're writing a book, like Elevating Engagement, which I think you wrote before ChatGPT. Are do you have intent, or do you plan on using ChatGPT as an author, and how will you be using it?
Yeah, so I'm kind of in Ben's camp. I actually use AI every day, Perplexity for research, and I'll use ChatGPT, but more Claude. But I've sort of decided in my head, or this is one of my own business guardrails, that I always do the first draft. And if I'm going to use AI around content, then maybe I'll use AI to shorten my own content, or
Mm.
to, maybe focus, reword or something like that, do some different subject matter focuses. But the first draft is always mine. And the reason why I've made that particular decision for myself is I had to sort of fight my way to be a good writer over years and years and years, and I don't want to lose it. And for me, writing is really joyful. So I want to write the first draft, and then maybe I'll definitely allow AI to edit and proofread. Maybe I'll allow AI to kind of run with it in a couple of different directions, but not usually. So it was interesting reading Ben's comments. I actually was pretty successful. Somebody else, I think Diana was asking the question about can you train an AI on your style? And I actually did that. I gave it access to all of my blog posts and a couple of PDFs. And boy, it could pretty convincingly spit out an Amanda Lee Kaiser like article or blog post or social media post. And it scared me actually. So I don't use that particular GPT because again, I want to be the first draft writer.
I know we have 3 minutes left. Thank you, Amanda. I know we have 3 minutes left. I want to put in here, this is really important, I think. Ben said, I haven't really used it much. I feel like I have a fairly distinct style and haven't felt comfortable giving up control. I couldn't find the exact instructions, but I want you to, if you're interested, this video was from that guy I mentioned, Ethan King, who did a session for EO, Entrepreneurs Organization, Boston. And in here was some homework he gave us. The homework was to train ChatGPT on how we speak. I think. I haven't watched it in a little while. If that's not it, just send me an email, dave@propfuel.com, and I'll find it. But I think in that video, he'll explain how to teach, and it's a very short video, it's just a few minutes, how to teach ChatGPT how you speak in a way that it'll remember that. All right, question before you go. What do you want to talk about at the next roundtable? Anyone? I hope this was valuable. I felt like it was a little scattered today, but I think there were a lot of great nuggets. Really glad you could join us, Amanda. Tom, nice to see you for the first time in a long time, if you're still here.
Hey, Dave, I've got a super quick question.
Yep.
You asked a while ago, what is, one time-consuming thing that AI is handling for you? And one of the things that I hear from membership folks is matching people. So near peer matching, mentor matching, buddy matching. It's ridiculously time-consuming. I was just wondering if anybody is using AI to match people.
It seems like it'd be pretty darn easy to do.
Yeah.
Couple spreadsheets, data points, LinkedIn profiles.
I know you'd have to have make sure your data was good
Right.
to do that though.
Right.
Couldn't you just do that just alone with LinkedIn profiles?
It's almost like in the association world, though, you want to match people who are working on similar projects, and that might be hard to scrape out of their LinkedIn profile. But maybe you could do that with if they were participating in a community. Otherwise, you'd have to ask them, how they would want to be matched. But
and that's where we can't use it as it's like, what do they hope to get out of this? You don't always know that from their LinkedIn. And we even have some CEOs that want reverse mentoring from a junior staff person. And that wouldn't be evident on their LinkedIn, but it's interesting. We do ours manually.
Yeah.
I love, you got me thinking. I always think with my goggles on. So like Prop Fuel, you ask a bunch of questions, which you don't have, you can't, usually we encourage one question, but you can actually ask multiple questions. Maybe the one is, are you interested in a matching program, getting a mentor, finding a partner in the association? Then if they are, that leads to a series of 5, 6, 7 questions that then is fed into either Betty or some other system. Or maybe you hold on to it until you get all the results. And then based on the answers to those questions, now you have enough information to match people better. But that's a great way to collect the exact right information that you need along with the people that want to be matched. I guess you could do that with a survey system too, now that I think about it. Just wouldn't be as cool. All right, before you leave, this book, I just bought this, Beth Z. Do you guys know Beth Ziesnes? I never know how to say her last name. It's Ziesenis. Beth Ziesnes. And she just released this Real People, Real AI. It's a kind of a comic book thing where it has inside of it a whole bunch of people and how they're using AI. Thought you might be interested in that. It's called Real People, Real AI. I think if you type in Real People, Real AI, Beth, it'll probably pop up. Thank you guys. We're a little over now, 2:01 Eastern time. Have a great day. I hope this was somewhat valuable for you. Catch you all
Thank you,
later.
Dave.
See you in a
Thank
month.
you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.